Something really interesting is happening to Bitcoin right now. So first off, read this disclaimer carefully. This is the long-term chart. This is the investing.com Bitcoin index. So Bitcoin versus the US dollar. So we are using weekly data points. This is, way back here to 2013. There's been a, humongous percentage move in that time frame. So we did have this massive bull rally in Bitcoin in 2017. Then we had the huge bear market. So let's actually look at how far it was. So from this intra-week high there to the low, that was a crash of minus 83%. So that was a huge crash. Then we find support. Okay, this is why it's very interesting now. We found support here at this red 200-week moving average. We find support, then we have an intra-week high here of 326% gain. So that was huge. Then we go back to having a sell-off to the tune here of minus 72%. So obviously Bitcoin, it's pretty volatile. This is like the spicy part of your portfolio. As you can see, we have recently tested the red 200-week moving average. There's been a rally, so it seems like we've had a successful test of that level. So far this week, we have also been able to get above the blue 100-week moving average. So there's some interesting things happening here, because previous week that moving average was a resistance level, and yeah, it's quite impressive that we have broken through two key levels in such a fast time. The issue, okay, you could of course make the case that we are seeing lower highs, and we're also seeing some lower lows, though this high is obviously higher than this one. The problem though is that if you look at the intra-week level, okay, you see that wick here, intra-week, these are pretty darn similar, if not almost identical levels. So how far could we go? So let's actually measure a hypothetical rally. So if we are to break out above the previous high, from this level here all the way up there, that would be approaching a 400% rally. There are multiple factors that could be very beneficial here for Bitcoin. One thing is that the central banks have just gone ballistic due to the crashes we have seen in the stock market. So they have gone absolutely bonkers. That seems to be somewhat bullish here for cryptocurrencies, because unlike fiat money, there is a fixed supply of Bitcoin. So the central banks are they're just printing money like crazy. And if we look at money historically over thousands of years, it usually doesn't work out that well. There's been many monetary systems throughout history, and guess what? The previous ones, they had big rises, but also total just implosions. So here we have the daily data points. So you can see that we are below some key moving averages here on the dailies. Like especially you can see the red 200-day moving average, which is also negative. The 50-day moving average here is forming a resistance level. It is quite important that we break through that level, to get some more buyers stepping in. So we are squeezed here between resistance here at the 50-day and support at the 20. Well, this is actually the 5-day moving average. 5, 10, and the 20-day here are support levels. So there is this pincer effect here. The RSI is at 56, so we are not like overbought or anything, so we should have enough fuel to power through here. If you look at horizontal levels, we are above multiple resistance levels there as well, it seems, even if we go further back. Well, I mean, this is a bit of a key level here, and also this, so yeah. So even though we have cleared these levels, there are some key... we need a catalyst to break through those levels there, for sure. But that could basically just be more buyers stepping in. So let's look at some longer term correlations here. So you can see that there is actually a 49% correlation between the S&P 500 and the Bitcoin. Let's actually compare it against the dollar. So we are looking at the UUP, US dollar index, like that. So there's basically no correlation here. Well, there's like, yeah, I mean, there's basically no correlation at all between the dollar and Bitcoin. That is really interesting. So let's actually go even further back. So the lowest correlation here is back in, what is it? Yeah, June 2018. You then had a minus 62% negative correlation between Bitcoin and the US dollar. The strongest correlation we had was back here, with approximately an 18% positive correlation. But all in all, this is a great finding, so there's not really a link here. So let's actually, just for out of interest, compare it to gold. So let's do the GLD, the gold ETF, weekly data points. So here we have a positive 37% correlation. Let's see, the highest we had was here around 54. Here is an FIB survey. Previous recession warnings now a reality. That's not good news for the market, the stock market, that is. 14, yeah. So if you look at the S&P 500, because that's like the key market at this point, the American stock market. So we have basically a bear market here. There's been some comeback rally. The big question for cryptocurrency investors is how will cryptocurrencies fare during a bear market? Because you can't really count, because Bitcoins and many of the other cryptocurrencies, they were created around the 2008 financial crisis. But given that it was more of a niche product back then, we don't have history. We do not know how Bitcoin, as an example, will be interpreted. Is Bitcoin viewed as a risky asset, meaning during a full-blown recession, people will be careful about investing in Bitcoin? That could be the case given the enormous volatility in the price, because it certainly is not a stable product. So from that perspective, it makes more sense for gold and silver to be viewed as like safe havens. However, it is becoming easier to use cryptocurrencies in actual commerce. Using gold and silver in day-to-day commerce is almost impossible. So it is very tricky. It's sort of like to be continued episode. But all in all, as you saw, we have tested successfully the 200-week moving average. That was a support level here for Bitcoin. We do have some levels here, as you saw on the daily data point. We need to clear them to have more of a catalyst to see those bigger moves upwards. But all in all, this looks very interesting for Bitcoin. And feel free to comment below if there's anything specific you want me to analyze.